Good morning, everyone. Welcome to A Brilliant Businesses podcast. My name's Nick Bryant, and I'm out and about against that, and I'm in the Trinity Theatre, which is a beautiful building, and I'm with the CEO, Jacqui Green. How are you, Jacqui?
I'm fine, Nick. How are you? Lovely spring day today.
Isn't it nice? At last, really.
Yeah.
So, the Trinity Theatre, now, it's quite hard to believe that there's people in Tunbridge Wells that have never been here or don't even know it's here. But let's change that today. Let's change that. But let's go back, actually, and if you could give us a bit of history about the theatre and how it became what it is.
Yeah, sure. So this is a Decimus Burton designed church.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have heard of him. He also built the Crescent. And it was built in 1829 and actually was the first formal church in Tunbridge Wells. So the oldest church now, you would argue, is King Charles the Martyr, but that actually started life as a chapel.
Oh, did it?
And the main thing about what was then Holy Trinity is that the main preacher was a chap called Canon Hoare, who was absolutely excellent. You would say sort of celebrity status. Vicar of his day, and he did such a good job getting people to come to church, and basically was a victim of his own success, because as a result of that, I mean, there were literally people queuing around the corner.
Right, yeah.
As a result of that, the diocese then built St James's, St John's, St Luke's, St Mark's, and actually, because they were sort of located in sort of the residential areas of Tunbridge Wells, because Tunbridge Wells until that point hadn't really been a big residential place, more of a kind of holiday destination. Trinity actually lost some of its congregation, and that sort of carried over a number of years, sort of right up to the mid-60s, late 60s. The diocese actually earmarked Trinity for sort of destruction. They were going to build a car park here.
Oh, my God.
And fortunately, the sort of civic society and drama clubs came together, and they basically said, look, give us a stay of execution. We need to come up with a plan for it.
Right.
And within the course of a year, they'd come together and come up with a plan to keep it and turn it into a theatre and arts centre.
Amazing.
They did a huge fundraise locally. I mean, the history of Trinity is what we'll come on to. You know, the local people have come to its rescue so many times because it's such an iconic building.
What year? Sorry to interrupt. What year was that then? When they?
That was in the late 70s. So it
okay.
opened as a theatre and arts centre in 1982.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, we're just past our 40th anniversary, which is amazing, and we've got loads of archives. So we've got exactly what the sort of shows were of the day, and lots of amateur and local artists actually, which is something that sort of holds true today as well.
Yeah. Well, on the website you've got that it's a hub of the heart, in the heart of the community, isn't it? A cultural hub for the heart of the community. Can we go on to also the tower, because that must have been a big part back in the day, and now you're reinstating it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been absolutely fascinating. So what's been great is it's also pushed us to try and learn a bit more about the history of this wonderful building. It was a sort of labour of love, really, started pre-COVID by my predecessor, a chap called Alex Green. And we've been very fortunate to secure funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and have opened this clock tower up, which previously the only way to get up there was a very sort of hairy ascent up a ladder.
Oh, right.
So actually having real steps to go up there is a joy.
Is it like a concrete spiral staircase? Or
it's partly wooden, and then the top is spiral, but it's sort of metal. We needed something quite robust, because as the doors open on the top into the sort of the balcony, if you want, because of poor weather, we needed something really robust to handle if it got a bit slippery. But we opened it last October, finally, and we're opening again at Easter, actually. We'll be doing, as we did before, 2 days a week, where we'll do kind of guided tours so that people can actually learn about the history as they go. Likely to be Tuesdays and Saturdays, but it will be on our website as it gets to.
I bet the views up there are stunning. They're amazing.
It's outstanding, and the main thing is there's nothing else like it in Tunbridge Wells. I mean, unless you were to stand on one of the cranes in one of the development areas, I don't think you could see anything like it. And actually, in the autumn, where the leaves are off the trees, you can see far further. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I bet it is. So as you can see here, there's obviously chairs going behind Jacqui. Now, this is a cinema as well, isn't it?
It is.
Which, again, people don't realise, because the other cinema is a long way away, and this is central.
And we've had really, really good... recently, we've had sell-out cinema screenings, which is fantastic. We've got a really great cinema programmer, Hugh, who is an absolute film buff. What he doesn't know isn't worth knowing. And we've had some really great screenings, but also he will, and collectively with Jason, our creative director, they will take a bit of a flyer on something that's not quite sort of mainstream. So we're really proud to have that heritage as well. But it's like the hidden gem. Nobody knows it's here. But Sunday evenings, Wednesday evenings tend to be cinema screenings. It's really cost effective, but it's just in the middle of sort of the town. Grab a beer, sit down, relax. It's wonderful. And really high end projection and screen equipment, which we've invested in recent years. So.
Okay, so how have you overcome the struggle of people not knowing it? Marketing it in a different way, or how have you done that?
Oh, it's an always evolving piece. But I mean, I guess what we've realised is that there are a lot of people, as you say, who don't even know Trinity exists. Perhaps people that have moved to Tunbridge Wells, perhaps down from London. Whereas I think we've perhaps relied on people just knowing by kind of osmosis.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's about awareness. So we're doing a lot to build awareness. So we're really fortunate to have corporate partners who help us sort of spread the word.
Right.
But also doing things like this with you and using local kind of networks to shout about what we do. We're just trying to do more visibly in the community as well. I think the thing is we do so much in the community in terms of working with community groups, young kids, isolated and older adults, but we don't actually shout enough about our credentials in terms of our artistic programme. And we've recently just fortunately hired a really brilliant marketing manager, Katie, who's also sort of working on audience development, and her input and impact is already being felt. So it's good news, exciting times.
Well done you. So because this is a reasonably new role for you, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
I joined in October, literally as the clock tower opened, I joined. So I certainly in my sort of 20s, before children came along and I got wrapped up in doing all of the stuff they wanted to do. I used to come here a lot, and we really enjoyed live comedy. The cinema obviously wasn't so much of a thing, but we used to come to a fair amount. And also, as I said, the local kind of grassroots theatre groups. So our youth theatre and TTC and TWADS, they all use the venue, which is fantastic.
So I would have thought that this venue, it could be a bit of a money pit to keep it going.
You could say that.
And you're a charity. Fundraising, is it a challenge? Where do you get your money from?
Yeah, it's been a huge challenge. So historically, Trinity was partly funded by both the local and national government. Sadly, all of those things have sort of dried up as cuts have had to be made. So really, we're very reliant on two things really, our sort of corporate sponsors and partners, but also really it's fundamentally what we put on in here. We need to develop those audiences, because what we put on in here basically pays for the community work we do. Some of the places we have on our youth theatre are subsidised, and some of the community engagement stuff we do is either sort of very low or zero cost. We recently did a social worth report, and basically for every sort of pound we invest, it generates £6.22 of social worth. So we've got to just keep that legacy going and building. And really the biggest way to do that is fill this place up.
Fill these seats, And of course, there's also the cafe and the bar.
Yes.
Which must generate some revenue.
I mean, it's great. It opens for show nights. It opens an hour before shows. And it's great because also you can order interval drinks, catch up with people beforehand. But also during the day between 10 and 3, every day bar Sunday. The cafe's open. We've got a lady, Tracy, who makes the most outstanding homemade cakes. I can thoroughly recommend them. And great coffee from a local roastery. So we're really, really fortunate. It's a great legacy thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I walked in there earlier, there was a few people milling about. A lady with a young child, a couple sitting in the corner having a coffee. It's a good place to come rather than a coffee shop, I would say.
I mean, I obviously don't want to do anyone down, but we are a charity, and literally every penny that we earn, once those overheads are taken care of, goes into those community groups. So you're doing so much more than just supporting a building. It's actually a huge social impact.
And everyone that works here are volunteers, is that right?
Most of
them, which is brilliant, isn't it?
It's amazing. We're so fortunate. We couldn't do it obviously without them.
Well, that's a challenge though, because I've interviewed many charities, and one of the biggest challenges is finding people to help them volunteer. Give up their weekends, give up their afternoons.
Absolutely. And we're very fortunate, but we do need to really think about volunteer strategy for the future, because people are increasingly time poor. and that isn't that they don't want to help; they just don't necessarily know how to help.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, we are so fortunate. I think we've probably got 150 volunteers on
Is
our
it?
books,
Right,
and they
okay.
will step in, weekends, evenings. They have to sort of sit through however many versions of, a youth theatre show or
Yeah.
a Christmas show, but they do it, absolutely from the bottom of their heart. But our volunteers spread beyond the theatre, so gardeners, we have people who come in and volunteer on sort of structural maintenance things. It's amazing. It's such a wonderful thing to be involved in.
So what have you got coming up that people could come and see?
Well, one thing, just from a cinema point of view, I should
Yeah.
say, is that Hugh has done an outstanding job in earmarking all of the award winners. So we've already screened the recent Oscar winner, Honora, but we're actually putting a new screening on later in March in order for people to be able to see it. So that's our kind of Oscar
if they
night.
missed it the first time.
And
great.
then also a load of the other sort of nominees and winners. So I would really urge people to investigate the cinema programme. We've actually put some sort of multi-buy deals together to try to sort of build that out. Our youth theatre are going to be performing The Little Mermaid in April, so they're busy with rehearsals for that, which is really joyous, and we come in here to see that. Tonight we're fortunate to have some comedies, so we've got Nick Mohammed of Ted Lasso fame. But we've got some amazing names. So we've just literally today gone live with Eddie Izzard's One Woman Hamlet. We've got some big comic names, and live theatre we've got Farm Boy coming, which is basically so it's the sequel to War Horse, which is probably its better known brother, but a fantastic family show. And I'm really excited tomorrow. We've got some live contemporary dance, which is Pitman, which is all about the Pitman painters. But live contemporary dance is something that we're developing.
Do you ever have live music?
Yeah, we do.
Like bands playing? Or?
Absolutely. We've been doing a lot of work. We work really, really closely with the other venues in town, and obviously the Forum is the grassroots music venue, and we're really proud to work alongside them. So we tend to bring in people who are perhaps songbooks. So we've just recently had Black is the Colour of My Voice, which was a one lady Nina Simone biopic.
That's good.
And the Simon and Garfunkel story, which was just outstanding. And more these sort of, I guess you call them tribute acts, but that's sort of doing them a disservice often, because they are so much more than that. So it's the songbook and the story of, really well-known artists. And then grassroots, generally, we're supporting grassroots of all sort of skills. So our youth theatre works, we have music workshops, backstage workshops, costume design workshops. So it's not just the theatrical part of it. It's, dance workshops, all of the sort of range of theatre.
And I guess, working out how to use stage and how to use lighting and stagehands and stuff like that. It's all a whole separate career, isn't it? And a special skill and speciality.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all of them personally, but I know that a number of the people who've come up through our youth theatre are now, backstage experts in the West End. But even just within Trinity, Rachel, who used to be in our the youth theatre, is now heads up all of our education provision. Nimue works and supports some of our community programmes and works behind the bar as well. She came up through the youth theatre. And then Rue has come to us through the youth theatre and is, number 2 to James, the head of tech. So, he's learnt so much and has given us so much more. So, it's fantastic grassroots stuff.
What's the biggest challenge that you face as CEO?
Personally, I guess it's that awareness, because if I was sat here and we thought, oh, crikey, we've got, full screens or full shows every night, I would be thinking, crikey, how am I going to generate sort of funds to support looking after the building, but this sort of community hub work, which community comes first here. So for me, I know that we have shows that aren't yet entirely full. We've got areas that we're only really just developing in terms of more contemporary theatre and dance, for example. So for me, it's awareness, and then building out that sort of, I think there's a whole demographic that just don't know we're here. So just building awareness, building audience numbers, tell your friends about it. But also that people know the sort of community side of it, because if you come in here in the evening for, I don't know, a comedy show, what you don't see is all of the community work with, young, isolated kids or older adults, lonely, widows who come
Yeah.
once a week and spend time singing or dancing or script reading. So
Yeah.
those bits are sort of the unseen, which
Work
is what it
behind
all
the scenes.
funds. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about corporate sponsorship. Obviously, this is a sort of a business podcast, so hopefully lots of business owners are listening.
Hopefully.
What does that involve? Let's talk a little bit about that and see if we can get any people involved.
Yeah, I mean, what we recognise that, sort of nothing comes for nothing, and we
Yeah.
really, really respect all of our corporate partners. So many of them will sponsor a very specific area, or if we're doing a very specific project, for example, renewing the heating here last year,
Right.
really our corporates really stepped up, and I really have to mention MaxiPay, who
Okay.
were outstanding.
Yeah.
They not only supported but kind of launched a match funding period of time for us, which really moved the dial on it, and they've
awesome.
been huge source of support. But equally, there are partners who give time in kind instead of cash, and
Volunteering kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And as a charity, you can't possibly have an expert on everything. So be it, I don't know, HR and employment law,
Yes, of course.
website development, I don't know, buildings and
Anything.
infrastructure.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it isn't necessarily just sort of money, it's also skills. But in return, the packages are really great.
Right.
So Sarah, who heads up our corporates programme, would love to hear from anyone who's interested.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, in return, there are sort of tickets to shows, tickets to the cinema. We can organise clock tower tours and
Yeah.
discounts on the cafe and bar. So,
Yeah.
we're really, really flexible. That's the lovely thing about being a small charity. It isn't sort of, we're not the nationals, so you don't need, to have just a very specific tier, and that's all
Yeah.
you get. We're really open to
Okay.
discuss with staff.
So if you're, any businesses out there that want to support Trinity, please get in touch with.
Please do.
With you or
Either me, or Sarah Rice,
Yeah.
who heads up the corporate
Okay.
development. Yeah.
And anyone watching this, please just just come in here and get a feel for it. I think even if there is something going on in the day, then you could probably put your head around the corner if you speak to someone.
Absolutely.
But go to the website and see all what's coming up, isn't it? And,
Yeah.
and choose something. Just check it out. 'Cause
It's so
awesome.
reasonable. Really, it's not just about coming to see whatever. It's
Yeah.
actually, as you say, about coming in here. I still believe that a lot of people who do come into the cafe bar, because we're an old church, I wonder if they think this is some sort of drafty church hall.
I think you're right.
And they
Yeah.
don't know it's a sort of fully raked auditorium
Yeah.
with really sort of sophisticated
I think,
tech.
if they walked in here and looked up at the ceiling and all the architecture, they go, wow, I
Yeah.
must come in here and see something. It's very spectacular, and you are doing a great job, Jacqui.
Well, it's
You are.
all about the team, and
Yeah.
literally, we couldn't do it without the rest of the team and
Yeah.
those volunteers.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for inviting me in. It's been lovely talking to you and learning more about it. I know you anyway, and you tell me stuff about the Trinity, and if I can get involved in any way, I'd love to. And anyone else, please.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thanks again, and we'll see you all for another podcast soon. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jacqui.
look forward to it, and come back when the clock tower's open.
Yes.
We'll take you up there.
Yes, I look forward.
Race up those stairs.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.